In October 2017, as I was finishing work at the hospital, I received a phone call from my sister-in-law in India, informing me that my mom had a stroke. She handed over the phone to my mom and switched on the video. I saw that my mom was trying to speak with me, but she was unable to. Perhaps the area of stroke affected her speech. All I saw was tears streaming down her face. I told my mom that I was going to be there. That's all she wanted to hear. So I went to India to be with her. On the way back, I wanted to spend some time alone with her. I sat next to her. She was lying on the bed. Her eyes were closed. She was very tired. I gently held her hand that was very soft. She opened her eyes. She looked at me, and with all the strength that she could gather, she said, "I know you love me, and I see devotion in you." These words touched my heart very deeply and settled down the chaos of whirling thoughts and emotions that were going on inside. Her words were slurred, but they were infinitely sweet. Perhaps the wisdom of a mother's heart knew how to settle down the chaos within the heart of a loved one. These words were the last that she spoke with me. Sometimes life puts us in very difficult situations, which is difficult to get through. But I've also seen marvelous ways in which this chaos was navigated through. One of my meditation teachers, who is no longer physically present, his name was Parthasarathi Rajagopalachari. He had prostate cancer, and it was spread. It was spread to an extent that he was unable to walk, and he was confined to a wheelchair. And within his confinement, he comes out and he says, "I have now become a chairman." A beautiful way to deal with chaos. What this example taught me was that cheerful acceptance of life with a little humor can help us get through life in a much better way. Sometimes, nature can create chaos too. And when it does so, there is a difference. And that is the difference in magnitude. It can be of enormous magnitude. One such incident happened in southern part of India called Chennai. There were torrential rains, and the entire city was engulfed in floods. A lot of people lost their lives, and a lot of them lost their homes. One of my meditation teachers, Dr. Kamlesh Patel, he had a house in Chennai. But at that time, he was in New Jersey, and I was with him. Someone called him from Chennai to discuss about the situation. And Dr. Patel asked about how his house was doing. And he was told that his house was doing great because it was on a higher ground. It was one of the very few houses that were not affected. It was what he said next that mattered the most. He said, "Open the house. Let anyone who needs a place to stay, let them come and stay there for as long as they need." And he also said that his wife left resources for the entire year, and people can use those resources for as long as they require. While a lot of us think about how to get through chaos, it was heartening for me to see someone take care of the well-being of others who are stuck in the midst of chaos. Not all of us can claim to have the serenity and poise to deal with chaos all the time. When I close my eyes, when my thoughts, emotions, and feelings are organized, the world doesn't seem to be too bad at all. But when they are out of alignment, this world appears chaotic. So where is this chaos? Is it within me or is it outside of me? This is an interesting question to answer. We live in a world of information overload. Often, we find ourselves processing this information in a state of anxiety and fear. Why do we do that? There may be many reasons, but one reason that science offers is that there is a little part within our brain called the amygdala. What this amygdala does is very unique. It keeps scanning this environment. What does it scan for? Most of the times, nothing good. It keeps scanning this environment for threats and insecurities. It hijacks the brain and puts the brain in a hyper-alert situation. When the brain is hyper-vigilant, is it possible for us to rest? Is it possible for us to relax? Is it possible for us to think clearly? Is it possible for us even to get a good night's sleep? Probably not. Practices of meditation and relaxation have shown that this hyperactivity can be normalized. And when it is normalized, perhaps we can think clearly and make decisions that are not fear or anxiety based. What are the practical implications of chaos? What role does meditation play in this? I'm a physician, a researcher, and a meditator. When chaos crosses its limit, it can affect our well-being, and it can cause stress, anxiety, burnout, or sleep problems. I practice a meditation called heartfulness meditation, a simple heart-based meditation practice to see if we can achieve a state of inner balance. And as a researcher, we wanted to find out if this practice of meditation can help reduce burnout. Physicians and healthcare professionals are at a higher risk of burnout. What is this burnout? Have you ever felt emotionally exhausted? Have you felt a little cynicism creeping in to an extent that we are callous towards people? We call it depersonalization. And have you felt that you're not performing to the best possible extent? These are the 3 dimensions of burnout. A lot of us have it. Sometimes it feels we are at the end of the rope, ready to snap. What we did in our hospital was we took a group of physicians, nurses, and house staff, divided them into 2 groups. For one group, we offered heartfulness meditation practice for 12 weeks. And the other group carried on as usual. And we wanted to find out the effect of this practice on burnout, emotional wellness, and something else called telomere. And we published this result. After 12 weeks of heartfulness meditation practice, this is what we found. In the group that meditated, all the 3 dimensions of burnout that we talked about improved with significance. In the group that did not meditate, we didn't see any of these changes. There was something else that we did. We measured emotional wellness. Emotions tend to play a role in the degree of inner chaos. Positive emotional states dampen the chaos. The negative emotional states worsen the chaos. When we measured these attributes in the group that meditated, we found out that the positive attributes such as concentration, calmness, clarity of goal, harmony, sleep, joy, positive thinking, self-confidence, honesty to oneself, all of them increased with significance. In the group that did not meditate, we did not see any of these changes. When we analyzed the negative attributes, we found out that anger, stress, anxiety, fear, irritability, jealousy, addiction, apathy, cynicism, and impulsiveness decreased with significance in the group that meditated. In the group that did not meditate, we didn't see any of these changes. There was something else that we measured, the telomere. We all like to see something tangible, right? So what are these telomeres? We have our cells, our chromosomes. At the tip of our chromosomal DNA, there is a cap-like structure called the telomere. It is very similar to the plastic bit on our shoelaces or the aglets. In general, the longer the telomeres are, it reflects a healthier lifestyle and perhaps we live longer. It may reflect longevity. Stress can shrink these telomeres. No wonder it is said that stress can take out 10 years of our lives. When we measured the telomere length in both the groups, we found something very interesting. In the group that meditated, especially in the younger population, we saw that this telomere length actually increased with significance. In the group that did not meditate, we did not see much of a change. As a physician, this was fascinating. Perhaps they moved from a chaotic state to a lesser chaotic state. We did something else. We measured sleep. We all long for a good night's sleep, right? Imagine not being able to sleep for at least 3 nights a week. And this goes on for months and years. We call it chronic insomnia. Patients with chronic insomnia sometimes describe a cloud of chaos around them, their inability to think clearly. When we offered heartfulness meditation practice for 8 weeks, we saw something interesting. Their insomnia scores actually dropped by more than 10 points. It was not just the scores that were important, the stories that they shared were fascinating. Some of the patients said, "Dr. J, we were only able to sleep for 4 hours before. Now we are able to sleep for 7 hours, 8 hours, because of which our dreams have come back." As a physician, it was interesting to see that. Looking back at it, because they were sleeping for a shorter duration, they were not able to hit the deeper stage of sleep where dreams occurred. But as they started to sleep for longer duration, they were able to get to the deeper stages of sleep where dreams started to occur. For them, it was joy returned. How does this meditation actually work? When my resident physicians ask me, this is what I tell them. When we close our eyes, it feels as if we are doing nothing. But we are doing something important, perhaps the most important thing. We are putting up with our own selves. And then we realize that it is not so easy to put up with our own selves. If it is very difficult to put up with our own selves, how do we expect others to put up with us? With heartfulness meditation practice, we very gently rest our attention on the best within ourselves, within our own hearts. Let us call it a source of light within. As we keep doing that, slowly this inner landscape starts to change. It becomes more acceptable. We become comfortable with our own selves. When we become comfortable with ourselves, it becomes possible for us to be comfortable with others and for others to be comfortable with us. Relationships and harmony tend to go. There is another way I talk about it. Imagine being out in scorching sun. In a few minutes, our skin starts to burn. But if we get into our car that is already air conditioned, we can be in the same environment and drive through for hours together without being affected. In a similar way, meditation offers that space of stillness within, the space of calmness within, which can help us get through this chaos of life in a much better way, the ups and downs of life in a much better way. Can I prove it? Let me try. That's me. I was a subject. I was hooked onto these EEG leads to measure my brain waves. If I had known, I would have dressed properly. Especially if I knew I was going to show this to everyone. But when I was meditating and the brain waves were recorded, some interesting waveforms were seen. What does that mean? When we are thinking, our brainwave frequencies are much faster. But as we slow down with meditation, these brainwave frequencies also tend to slow down. It is very similar to the brain waves during sleep. When we go to bed at night, there is a time when we feel we are going to fall asleep. Then there is a lighter stage of sleep. Then there is this deeper stage of sleep. And then there is this deeper stage of sleep. Medically, we call it stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 sleep patterns. It takes about 60 to 90 minutes on a good day to get to stage 3 sleep, when we see the slowest waveforms called the delta waves. That is when we feel refreshed in the morning. When I was meditating, my brain went through stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 within 15 minutes. If our brain can get into the deepest state of rest and relaxation within a very short period of time, don't you think even if we come out of it, we feel refreshed, relaxed, ready to face the day? Don't you think we can perform better? And don't you also think that we are kinder and better human beings? It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. There was another difference. When we are asleep, we are gone, right? We are not aware. But when my brain was in this deepest state of rest and relaxation with stage 3 sleep pattern with the delta waves, awareness was still present. But it was a thoughtless awareness where even the awareness of thoughtlessness has come back a little later. There is another way I look at these brain waves. These waves are very similar to the waves on the surface of an ocean. When the environment is turbulent, the waves are raging. All we hear is this noise of these waves splashing. But if there is a way we can dive a little bit deeper within, perhaps we can find some degree of calmness. What did it feel like for me when I was in that state? It was an access to a wonderful space of stillness, of tranquility, of deep peace, of inner beauty. When one is in that state, one becomes a gentle, loving presence. And one who has become that will not be able to look at chaos the same way. The outlook towards life changes. The way one looks at people changes. The way one looks at events, situations, and circumstances change. One begins to look at the world through the lens of stillness imbued with fragrance of love. That space is available to each one of us, waiting to be accessed. To me, the closer we get to that space, there is more stillness. The farther we move away from that space, there is chaos. As the inner chaos melts away, the outer chaos fades away. The outer chaos is a reflection of the inner chaos. Except maybe in one situation, that is me trying to meditate, and my daughter, she's creating chaos around taking a selfie. Thank you so much.